Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a new talks on architecture and beyond. My name is Patricia. I'm here in the showroom in Cosentino City, Singapore, and we are excited to show a little more of what's been our talks. This is the third session that we do with talks on architecture and beyond, and it's going to be our fifth talk of the year. Today, we are hosting a talk called Sustainability, Functionality, and Smiles. And we're happy to have today, as usual, Yann from Wito Architects and our special speaker of today, Markus Roselieb from Chiangmai Architects. So thank you again for being here. If you have any questions, please feel free to write on the chat and then we can address all the questions at the end. Now, of course, as usual, Jan, the floor is yours. So let's have a new talks on architecture and beyond.
Thank you so much, Patricia. It's always a pleasure to see you and to, of course, to be hosted by Cosentino for our third series on the talk of architecture and beyond. And so I would like to welcome everyone once again to our talks. And for the one who came for the first time, let me just remind a little bit what is the TAB series, and especially this year, the talk on architecture and beyond. So this year, we will be focusing on the overarching theme, commitment to the future, the planet, and the people through the lens of sustainability, innovation, and materiality. So these topics are increasingly finding relevance in the field of architecture, in building sustainable cities and resilient communities. So to start this positive change in this current complex landscape of climate change and inequality in the society, architects need to innovate and find creative solutions to design sustainably, ensure energy efficiency, and to respect the environment. So to do that, materials which are used should likewise be built to last, with a preference for renewable resources and those with a lower embodied carbon footprint. So this year we welcome architects, women and men from Singapore and from the region to basically share with us their personal journeys as architects in developing their own projects, typologies, methodologies, and finding creative solutions, managing their team as well as their own families. So we will see how delightful architecture can be and how it can bring harmony with nature, climate, and culture. For a more holistic well-being for the people and the planet towards a more inclusive, equitable, and vibrant society. So today, I'm very, very honored to welcome fantastic architect, Markus Roselieb from Chiangmai Life Architects. And so I had a great chance of visiting some of his creation. So he used to be a doctor, becoming an architect, leading his team from Chiang Mai. And so today, his talk that is really exciting, which is sustainability, functionality, and smile. So he will share today the focus on creating spaces that draw your attention, creating a positive and happy atmosphere. And as he said, that they count their success through the smiles that they create, the client, the end user, and even the planet. So the design process starts with functionality that includes location and context, materials, and mostly natural materials such as bamboo and clay, all brought together with this flowing organic design. So Markus, is a true honor to welcome you today for our fifth talk of the year for the third TAB series. So the floor is yours, Markus, and stay tuned everyone, because we will come back at the end of the talk for this Q&A session. So feel free to type all of your questions and I will look at them to share with Markus. So the floor is yours. Welcome, Markus.
Also, our last time in Singapore, and I feel very honored that you invite me. And when you told me what this is all about the talks on architecture and beyond, commitments to the future, the planet, and the people, I really thought you hand-tailored this for us in some way. So I felt very much at home, and I'm very honored to talk to you. And of course, a big thanks to Cosentino and to Patricia for allowing me to present our work and our thoughts on architecture. As you said, I think it's very relevant that architecture finds a new angle after postmodernism and ignoring what's going on to a certain relevance for today as well as for the environment. So please allow me to share my screen. Nope. No, it didn't. I'm very sorry. Yann, can you give me feedback? Do you see my presentation now?
Yes. We can see your presentation. We can see your screen.
Okay, very well. Is it full screen?
Yes, it is full screen.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So yes, just a quick one back to the title of the talk, Commitments to the Future, the Planet, and the People. I really like this idea. And from our side, the important things are sustainability, functionality, and smiles. So I mean, all is of course in the bigger context of context. I myself am an Austrian who emigrated to Thailand. I work with a little company called Chiangmai Life Architects in the north of Thailand. And for us, a very important part is combining and connecting, like technology and art, natural materials, which we mainly use, but also state-of-the-art engineering, the knowledge that the human race acquired over time. And we like organic design, flowing design that talks to the location, but at the same time, contemporary space feeling. So we are not on the vernacular side that says, oh, these materials and our idea of organic design has to be what the ancients did, but we think of bringing materials, natural materials, into the 21st century by combining it with all the knowledge and technology that is available. And that is relevant to the functionality and to the space. The two main materials
perhaps,
that we
Markus, perhaps you might
Yes.
just want to click on hide, so the tab can be removed. Yes, and now we can, perfect. Now we can fully enjoy your presentation. Thanks a lot, Markus.
Thanks for your help. Okay, so two materials that we mainly use is bamboo and clay or earth, but not only. But these materials make a lot of sense to us, so though they are, the staple of our work. And a lot of people might ask this: why bamboo? Bamboo is a very interesting material. It has a very high tensile strength, actually higher than steel in some occasions. And it is lightweight. It's a tube. It's a natural tube. So for structural works, it is sort of made to be, and it is a reinforced tube. So it has a very high potential for structural application. At the same time, it's probably the only construction material that is really carbon negative, because bamboo actually absorbs carbon dioxide during its growth and doesn't release any. So the production of this material actually clears our atmosphere, unlike steel or any other construction material that is on contemporary use. One thing I very much like about bamboo too, that it's a local material. And so when we source bamboo, the ones who profit, the money goes to locals. For us, bamboo is mainly in competition with steel in terms of structural applications. And if you look at steel is in countries like Thailand mostly imported from China, one of the big international cartels like ArcelorMittal or so. So all the profit goes somewhere else. But if we use bamboo, the profit stays on the ground right there and doesn't even need to be redistributed by the government. We just pay the people and it is right there. So this local production and profit thing could have a big social impact. Also, if you look at steel, war in the Ukraine, some oil crisis, the price of the material changes up and down, but because it's international product. But once you have a local product, the prices are not affected by all these things. And then it is highly decorative. So when we build something with bamboo, we can actually expose everything we do, and it's at the same time beautiful. So we don't need any other materials, paint, ceilings, or whatever to hide what we've done. We actually expose it, and it adds to the building and the construction, the feeling inside. The other material, clay or earth, is a great material for thermal and sound insulation. Different ways of construction have different ways of doing that. So like rammed earth or adobe bricks have a great thermal mass, and by that insulate very well against heat or cold. It is also much better in humidity control in the rooms than concrete or the usual materials, because it is porous and it can absorb humidity to a certain extent and release it too. In its life cycle, of course, in carbon footprint, it doesn't need to be produced, it just needs to be transported. And in the end, it just goes back to where it came from. Also, again, it is a local material, like I pointed out before, and it is beautiful to the eye and touch. So it exhibits a lot of benefits, in my opinion, over the current materials that are used. If you have a normal concrete wall, thermal and sound insulation are not very good. If you hammer a nail in the first floor and the third floor, you hear it very loud. And also in terms of thermal aspects, in terms of beauty, you just need to do something. An earthen wall is finished, it's already beautiful. So it's just a very functional way to use. A little bit to explain why we do what we do is also, or where we came, is because of our location in the north of Thailand. Some of you might not know where Chiangmai is. It's up here in the north. And so we're not on the ocean, not on the sea, but higher up. And we have a quite extreme climate that in the winter can get cold down to 5 degrees, but in the summer we can have 45 degrees for quite a while. And as you can see here on the right side, we have some mountains in the background, but Chiangmai itself is in a valley. So the location also drove the way we design and build. Because many people come to us, oh, you do bamboo, why don't you build me a bamboo hut like in Bali? That doesn't make any sense up here. Why? Because bamboo is not a great thermal insulator. In Bali, you have the temperatures are varying over the year, maybe 15 degrees. But up here in Chiang Mai, the temperatures over a year vary about 40 degrees. So we need a better insulation material for the walls. If you look at bamboo, and many people think, it's the problem with bamboo is it doesn't last very long, it's not very strong. But a lot of this comes from ignorance how to select, how to treat, and how to use the material. When we were asked to create the sports hall, the question was, how do we create the height and the width so basketball, football, volleyball, everything could be played inside in terms of international dimensions for those courts. And first for us is always function and also science. We have to understand things. Bamboo was usually used in this way: big poles that are then connected at their ends, either with steel and concrete or bolts. But the problem with these methods was always that once you fill the connections, the concrete and the bamboo react differently to expansion with heat and to moisture. So the bamboo will eventually crack. Not only is it ugly, but it's also dysfunctional, of course, because the strength of these kind of structures is rather questionable. So our way out was to understand the material better. Bamboo can come as a pole, as a tube, and a tube, as we know in structural engineering, is a very strong form for weight, for load carrying. It doesn't bend very easily. And the same, of course, applies. That's why steel comes in tubes very often. The same applies to bamboo. But bamboo also comes in rods. And rods bend easier, but still can take a lot of form. But the advantage of the rods also is that the density of fibers is very high. So different kinds of bamboo come in different forms. So what we did, we created bundles of bamboo. And the advantage of these bundles is that we have no more problem with the connection part, because each of the bamboo poles is connected with the other poles on different points in different angles with bamboo dowels. So the length of the whole pole becomes the connection instead of just the end of the pole. And we were lucky to find this kind of bamboo in Thailand. Nobody really used them before for construction. And as you can see, these almost have no more hole. They are pure fiber. It's a Trisostachys oliveri or Trisostachys siamensis species. Then we use engineering to actually have an engineer calculate trusses like steel trusses that are needed for the distance, whatever the client needs, and that express the forces that go on these trusses. And in our design process, of course, once we understand the structural design and the function of the space, then the conceptual design can follow that. But first comes the function and also the science and the viability of what we are going to design for that area where we are. After that, we of course elaborate on that, and then we build models that will give us additional information about the space, but also about the strength of the structure that we build. Models that are accurately built are astonishingly informational material. Plus, of course, they're good to show the clients. They give us also better ideas how everything looks in real life, three-dimensional, and we can discuss the construction process with our craftsmen. We sent all of this also to engineers who looked at displacement, who looked at the local winds, and who gave us all the information to understand whether what we were designing actually works with earthquakes, winds, and everything, so it will withstand all the most likely forces that will come onto this building. So for us, bamboo construction is really a science and not just a creative art form as it was used before, because we really believe this material can replace steel in many functions in many ways. Talking about how we design, we like to look at nature, but nature also meaning the location itself, where we are. For example, for this hall, for this sports hall that we were designing, the school is a Buddhist school, and the lotus flower has a high value in terms of a symbol for many things in the Buddhist religion and tradition. So we used the lotus flower, put it on the side, then to take the several levels of leaves to create the roof of the building, at the same time also having in mind that this has additional functions like natural ventilation, the hot air going up and out on different levels, but also daylight coming in on different levels, so that the place can be easily used during the day in terms of lighting, but also in terms of heat. A bit to the construction process. I'm not going to bore you too much with this, but the way we do things is here we have this engineered trusses that we prefabricate on site, and each part of these trusses was calculated by an engineer. For example, how many poles have to be on the lower part, how many on the upper part, by an engineer who actually understands the who has all the data also of the tensile strength, of the compressional strength, and of everything that you need to have to calculate this correctly. And also then we use here, like we use steel bands, where bamboo dowels are not the most effective way, but we use bamboo dowels where they are the most effective way. Why? Because if you use normal steel bolts, they will expand and contract differently to the bamboo, and very often then cause longitudinal cracks in the bamboo. But with the bamboo itself, of course, the materials expand and contract similarly, so there is no problem. And also the other serious advantage of bamboo, of course, it doesn't rust. So once these dowels are in there forever, or as long as the material lasts, which brings us to the eternal question: how long will it last? Well, it will last as long as wood in the end. For bamboo, the problem has always been the right selection. Bamboo in its early years is full of sugar. So if you cut the young bamboo, you basically use something that should be eaten and not be used as construction material. And that's also why the panda bear and the humans eat the bamboo sprouts, because they have little fibers and a high content of sugar. Similar to asparagus, the older it gets, the more fiber it gets. So once you choose the right age, when you cut the bamboo, you have a very different material in hand than if you cut the young one. And it not only is the fiber content increased, but the sugar content is reduced, and it is the sugar content that attracts the insects to eat it, and the less attraction, the less damage to the material. But that's just a short one into that. There's more to it, but that would go beyond our current talk. We use, as you can see, as I said before, we use steel bands or cables or whatever is necessary, and has also been calculated by the engineer on in terms of the force that will enter on certain points. We use the materials that are appropriate for that, because that's a very big project. We needed cranes, and in the beginning, of course, we didn't really understand how to do it best. So everything was the torsion came into effect, and then we had to increase and stabilize our trusses. Then we prepared the location, and the trusses were being slotted into where they have to be. Each of the trusses had a different size and a different form. And then the whole thing was coming together with a lot of bamboo structure to hold it, of course. And after that, our flowing designs and our curves could slowly be put onto the main structure. And in the end, it would look like something like this, with the help of a very good photographer. And as you can see here on the sides, I'm sorry, you also see it here, we have quite big openings on the side to bring in daylight and also ventilation, and then we have a smaller one on the top. And the hall is being used, as you can see, as for sports, but also for other events. And we have a lot of monks coming and giving talks, but also performances by the kids. And here's some details. We have a balcony with balconies on the sides where the parents can go up and watch their children play when they play some sports. And everything is based on arches and curves. And you see here these strings, but they are basically just covering the metal bands, and they're more for beauty than for the effect of holding things together, because in the material weakness they would give in too soon to hold things. But the interesting thing of these openings, as you can see, what we learned over time is that using organic forms not only, in my opinion, fits better to the space and is more beautiful to look at, but it's also more practical. The winds and the rains, for some reason, play with these forms. The wind comes and goes over this form. This part that you see here is completely dry. It has, even though these openings are actually 2 meters high, it has never once rained into this hall. So the design, once we understand and respect nature actually comes back and plays with us and helps us. At least that's how I see it. Context of the space, trying to understand how we can enhance what is there with the forms that we build, and not just impose our building on it and say, this is the thing you should look at, but we want to make the whole space win and get better with what we do. So we look at the pathways, we look how we get a flow, and how we create a village that is interesting and makes sense for the location and for the people, and not just squared all the way. This school is called Banyaden International School. It's in Chiang Mai. It's in the north of Thailand, and has grown from a small kindergarten and elementary school to a full-blown IB school. And here we see the entrance into the secondary school. And here, this is where the students come in. And here you see one of these aspects, as I said before, that we like to combine technology and natural materials. This is what schools have to have these days in terms of security. Some kind of AI thing with a camera that scans the faces, looks for temperature, if the face is right, and if you need to have a mask, whether the mask is there, and then only the gates will open. And these things are important not only for security, but because the children are the children of this century. They like technology, and they feel that there's a familiarity, there is a connection if we can integrate the technology into the space. So the more we integrate things that the people who use it like, the more the whole thing makes sense. So it's part of functionality for me to find as much technology that makes sense and integrate it with what we do. This is one of the buildings I like most, I have to honestly say, because also it's one of the later buildings. It's the secondary library. And usually I do not do geometrical buildings because nature is not that geometrical, and the spaces we get and the optimal use of space usually doesn't ask for geometry. But in this case, actually, this was the best answer for the space that we were given. And so we created a space with a cupola with a reciprocal roof, where one bamboo column is supporting the next one, in order to create a space in the middle where the kids can come together and have an eye here that looks into the universe and connects them to the outside. Here the bookshelves are still missing because we took this photo before they moved in the library. But basically we have created the different space in the middle for communication, and then an outside space where the library shelves are put in diagonally with more quiet spaces. And then there are separate rooms for meetings and keeping the big hall quiet. What you can also see here is these little things are the latest air conditioned technology from Samsung. So this whole place is, of course, air conditioned because, books, and also everything needs to be air conditioned. We have a month of 40, 45 degrees in the summer. It just gets very hot, even though we use good insulating materials. But these are very interesting because they don't blow the air anymore. They just let it fall. So you never have the feeling like getting cold air into your neck. At the same time, you see this steel tube in the back. That's an air purifying system. So we have a big air purifier outside, and this system blows in clean oxygenated air all the time. So when we have the burning season and 2-3 months in the year, we have pretty bad air in Chiang Mai, the air inside here is completely clean. But not only that, also during the time that we have no burning season, we can use this to increase the oxygen content of the room. Because if you have a closed room, lots of people inside, oxygen goes down, CO2 goes up, people get tired. But if you can bring oxygen regularly, then you have the optimal room climate. So combining knowledge, technology, knowledge, and beauty is an important aspect for me. Here's another building, the science building, that interestingly by itself turned out to look like a heart, and that is because the neighbor's property is intruding here, and we had to use this space, so we designed it around this corner. Here again, you have this combination of a very modern lab. Actually, our lab was credited with being one of the best school labs and even university labs in Thailand. We have all necessary equipment, but together with natural materials. And it's the combination that I think is a winning one. Here is the music hall, music building with 4 separate small rooms for practicing and 1 bigger music hall. Another project that I would like to show you is one that's close to my heart, is this meditation cathedral. And it also shows one way how we, when we do design, you see that the mountain range and this little cap, and we like to fit things into the space, so it feels like it belongs there. And here it is sort of the mountain part that inspired us, but at the same time, the function of the space was to build something for meditation seminars, with the space for the monks to sit, but also a space that immediately when you come inside draws you into what the room is, what the space is made for. So it's quite high, it has these openings on the top, and it has this kind of cathedral feeling. And if you go inside, automatically some kind of quietness and peace feeling overcomes people. And that is, that is what we would like to achieve with our design. And the materials help, of course. The materials make people quieter, calmer, and at the same time, as I pointed out, as Yann pointed out before, smiles are very important. People look at our buildings and they smile. I'm always very happy with that. This was for a particular client. I loved her very much, an old member of the Thai royal family, and she had real style. So she was into meditation, but she was also into having an occasional glass of wine. So we have a sunset sala for watching the sun going down with a cold glass of white wine in her hand on the side. And the combination of this and the way we put it into the landscape, of course, there's a bathroom, there's an M&E facility, and there's 2 overnight facilities for those who want to stay. Well, we try to arrange things or unarrange things in a way that it looks like it's always been here and it's been homegrown. When I say, we focus on all this sustainability, but really the focus of ours is on the people and on the planet as well. So for us, function also comes with happiness of the client. So that the following project I show you to prove that for us, the client actually comes first. So even though, I like bamboo and I like organic forms, this client is somebody I respect very much, and I learned to respect over time more, and he became a good friend. And he liked our materials, I liked our idea, but he wanted something more Thai style, more, traditional in some way, modern traditional, but clearly reminiscence of the place, which is something I can relate to. Context is a very important thing. So we designed his family home, again, only natural materials. This is, of course, all wood. The roof and all the structural parts here are done by a company who is also into the sustainable wood business. All the walls are built from earth. The floors are sandstone. So it's all natural material. But this time, of course, no bamboo and no organic form, because that's what the client wanted and that's what made him happy. And if I have a happy client, I'm happy to but also to show that, natural materials can be very modern too, and earthen walls together with wood can create a very modern and positive feeling. This is also local sandstone from Thailand, wonderful material for the outdoors, because even if it rains, it never gets slippery. On the inside, the main rooms, we still have natural ventilation. We have openings on the top, so these rooms are much too big to air condition, or they could be air conditioned, but the way we designed them for a natural flow. The bedrooms are all closed and air conditioned. The floors are beautiful natural stones as well. And it's lots of indoor feeling, of course. The main playroom is outside under the roof. Here's a guest house. Again, with the Thai touch, but also natural material. So all these walls are made from earth. In this case, we use adobe bricks. These are bricks that are made from clay, sand, and some organic material. Here we use the shavings from our bamboo factory or rice husks. In this construction, when we go 2 stories, but most of the time in Thailand, in order to get building permit, we have to bring in some concrete poles somewhere, because the local engineer who gives the permit, he couldn't sleep without some concrete in there. So we give that to them, no problem. We get the permit, we can build, and it doesn't impact anything because the percentage in the wall, volume percentage is so low that the earth can still take over the thermal and noise insulation very well. And the way we build is just, there's bricks, so they're being put together by our bricklayers. In some places, we use a different methodology. Here, it's what we call wattle and daub. There's a bamboo grid on both sides of the structural elements, and then this is covered with mud from 2 sides with an earth pocket in the middle. So again, it's a good insulation material against noise, and it helps us to fill the spaces that would be difficult to fill with the bricks. Also, the bricks are very heavy. So if we would have done all this with the bricks, all these things would have to be, all the structural parts would have had to be bigger. But because we use this kind of technology, so a methodology, we don't have to. So there's different ways of building with earth. And we use basically 3 different ways, this wattle and daub, adobe bricks, and rammed earth. And again, a completely different project to show how important context and the client is to us. And of course, as always, sustainability. So these 3 things will always come back and follow us through what we do. Here's in the city, and this is how the place looked before. The client wanted a hotel, and the hotel has a very interesting location. It is on the border of a big shanty town in Bangkok and Bangkok's biggest entertainment district, Sukhumvit Rama 4 Road. And at the same time, the client wanted something different, something that inspires and attracts the LGBTQ community, the young people, and something that is lively. So we transformed this old apartment building. It was all small apartments, into this kind of artsy hotel. We put the facade in the front. First of all, for us to bring to break up all this box-like and rectangular feeling, but also this part helps to reduce the sunlight that hits the building and thus help it to reduce the necessary cooling inside. The rooms have big windows in order to give a more spacious feeling, but we protect them by this facade. The facade is made with color, but also with tiles, and has a textural element to it, and is of course as irregular as possible. I don't like corners. I don't like curves, so we took out the corners, and we had handmade tiles for these corners here that help us to soften all this rectangularness. On the road, we put these columns, and as you can see, these columns separate the building from the shanty town on the other side. The line is really just next to the hotel. So the question was also when we designed this, how can we build something that has something in common? And when I went to the shanty town, I found it to be very colorful. Lots of colored windows and doors, and even whole buildings. So colors came to be a way to connect the environment instead of building something very cool and clean that has nothing to do with the shantytown. Building something that is more irregular and colorful was our answer. Here's the entrance to the lobby. Inside the lobby with the reception, again, the columns that are kind of the signature part of this hotel. And in the lobby, the main color tone, as you can see, is blue. So you might ask, what are the sustainability factors of the hotel? So besides the facade on the outside, we try to reduce demolition as much as we can. For example, all the floors that you see here are the original floors. Another aspect is the corridors between the rooms are open to the outside, so we have cross ventilation here. So we don't need any air conditioning in these public spaces in the staircases. So only the rooms and the lobby are air conditioned. Inside the rooms, again, these are the old floors, and then we try to bring in some color and some design in terms of, this is for young people, this is for people from the 21st century, and how to make a different place that is interesting. Here you can see this is how it looked before, and this is how it is now. And even though, the colors that you see are very plain colors, and these were not exactly the colors that we designed. Our design was a little bit softer, but the client had a certain budget and he had certain suppliers. So we were given a color palette by the client, and we could only choose those colors. So we had to choose the colors. The colors were done. The client is happy. It's in the budget. It's in time. And the generation who uses this wouldn't have been able to make a real difference between the more softer colors that we wanted to have and these colors. So in terms of functionality, it works for the client, and the building was built and not, being stalled because of a quarrel over which colors to do. So I can live with that, even though my colors were different, because the client is happy and it works. And I don't really care whether the architectural community is happy with that. So for me, it is not about keeping in style with what everybody does, but finishing and doing the function. Here you have how the lobby looked before. Of course, we had to take out this floor, and this is after. And here you see, the shantytown just next to the hotel. They have colors everywhere. To finish my presentation, I have to give credit to this man who is on the photo with me. Samad is my junior partner, and he's an incredibly talented, nice, kind, and also industrious guy, without whom I wouldn't have been able to do any of this. We won a lot of awards together with a lot of interesting projects, but it was really done as a team, and a lot of credit has to go to him. So with this, I say goodbye. I hope, Yann, I'm still in time.
Yes.
And
Thanks.
now I have to find a way to stop sharing. How do I do that?
You need to yes, and from here you can do stop share. Yeah, the small cross, the small, yeah, it's on your screen, the small cross in the middle. Go back to the Teams, yes, and you have the small cross. No, this
Okay.
one. Stop sharing. Yes.
Great.
Thanks. So thank you so much, Markus. And you see, like I have this smile because of course, like you want to bring smile onto the people's face, on your clients, on the users, and definitely I was smiling all along. So thank you so much,
Okay,
Markus,
great.
for all of that. And what transpires from all of this, it is a strong love for what you do, a strong love for what you advocate, and a strong love towards the people and towards the planet. So indeed, when we look at the theme of this year, the TAP series, the commitment to the people and to the planet and to the future, definitely you embody perfectly all of that. So thanks a lot. And of course, I have a series of questions. We received also some questions on the group chat, on the chat that I will bring on board. But I must commend what you are doing, because we know that this is not an easy task. It is quite a complex, like as much as it sounds so easy and evident to build out of this structure. Actually, it takes a lot of trial and error, a lot of some tests, and to see what works, what does not work. And it is by this strong sense of crafting that you are achieving what you are achieving with your team. So thanks again, Markus, for doing all of this.
It's always fun to talk to you. You say everything anyway. You already know, so it's very easy to talk. And of course, it takes a lot of trial and error. You know, we made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, and we had to learn from them because there was no path. Nobody went down that path before, right? So, as you said, the end looks nice, but the path to get there was, of course, messy in between at times, right? And we just have to learn from our mistakes and move on. That's just the most important thing, and try to find a way to solve the problem at hand and not give up.
Yeah. And I will start my question with like, because I have a whole series of questions about methodology and like innovation and so on, but I will just start with a very light question first, because the curves seems to be the signature of your buildings. And so how would you describe your approach? Is it form follows nature, or form follows fun? So form follows nature, or form follows fun, or both?
Actually, really, the form arrives. You see, when we have to build something, we go there and we look at the space. After understanding the functionality and having a idea of a layout and how to solve all the functional things, and then I go to the space and look, how can I use this space best? How does something, and with use I mean in terms of putting in all the floor plan that is needed, but also in terms of how can I enhance the whole property that we're talking about with a building that I put in there best, and not just dominate it, but how do I add to the client's benefit of his whole property best? And then we stand around, we look, and we do this as a team. So Martin and I, we look at this, and then we discuss some shapes that come up. And it is rarely, as I said before, a geometric shape, but it is something that responds or to the location. And of course, everything we've seen over our lifetime, everything from nature, but also from paintings or other architects, everything goes into our subconsciousness. like a big computer and then works in there and then spits out something in the end, right? So it's very hard for me to put the finger on and say, oh, this one is from nature, this one is from a Kandinsky painting that I saw, or, you know, or from a design maybe on a shirt, or I don't know where the end product comes from. But yes, there's always a dimension of fun. There's always a dimension of nature. But for, you know, in the beginning, there was a bit of the notion, oh, we have to do things that looks like leaves or so. And I did this once and then it was boring. So, you know, you do things sometimes, but I find that the place will help you find the form if you let it, and all the things that you have inside, all the other buildings that we've built, and understand better how we could have done them better. And then that's sort of the next generation, the next form of this curve is a little bit more like this, and you know, so a lot of things come together, but there's always nature and fun in there somewhere.
So thanks for sharing all of that. That leads me very easily to my next question, because you are right in saying that we believe that bamboo architecture it's all about aesthetic, ornament, something that is indeed in nature. But you really made a point in basically making this material a very noble material, in describing the science behind bamboo. And so that there is a deep understanding of the stability, of the inherent properties of the material and the authenticity of the material. You talked a lot about authenticity in bamboo, in earth as well, the adobe brick, and so on. How was it for you in terms of your career? Has there been any turning point towards that? Were you just very observing bamboo and said, oh, how does that work? And I want to know how it works. And therefore you really scratch your head, like going deep into the science of it. So has there been any turning point in making bamboo that kind of fantastic material?
Yes, in the sense that before I started with these two materials, all my life I was building with normal materials, and we had this beach house. We were still living in Bangkok, had a beach house, and when we went there on the weekends, my family enjoyed the beach house, and my task was always to repair things, because beach houses inevitably break down, right? The salty air will eat your steel, your concrete, everything gets wrong. So I was there and thinking, this is all we can do. Is there no better material than the ones we have, more functional materials for a beach house? So I started looking into earth in architecture, and I realized, of course, earth would be a very good substitute for the concrete part. And there happened to be the World Bamboo Congress 2009 in Bangkok at that time, and I didn't even know about it. But some of my friends went there, brought the material, put it on my table, and say, "Yeah, this is something that might help you." So I looked at it and was like, "Oh, yeah, this is really something that could help me here." And then when we moved to Chiang Mai, and my wife ordered me to build a school, so I suddenly had those materials on my table. I said, "Yep, but I would like to do it, in the real way, in the better way." And once I started working with it, I realized the potential quite quickly, and also the missing information about the material quite quickly. But the information was out there. It wasn't not like nowadays. It's a lot of information out. It was more hidden, but it was findable. I mean, the incredible Professor Liese from Germany looked into the microstructure of the bamboo and explaining, the years and the progress and all that. It's fascinating stuff. And once we started building, I mean, that was the turning point. Starting to build gives information that is beyond anything you can read, and gives confidence, and gives, I don't know how to put it in words, but once we put up our first structures and I could put my hand on it and see where the weakness and strength was, and there was always a way to solve the weakness, always a way to make things better. it was never beyond reach of, if you have a structural capacity of thinking, which luckily I was born with. So I was just fascinated. There's always an answer with these materials to everything. We just needed to improve our knowledge, our handicraft, and all these things, of course. But I wasn't left to, with steel, once it rusts, you have to cut it out, you have to use chemicals. So with bamboo, all of this is not necessary. You can always figure it out.
And on that, so thanks again for sharing your turning point and the understanding of the bamboo architecture. When we just take a step back in our region, in Southeast Asia, Bali is well known for bamboo architecture. Some architects in Jakarta are also using bamboo. Some other architects in the Philippines, in Vietnam, that we've been like so many publications, and you in Thailand. Do you think that there is a kind of strong sense of regionalism towards using bamboo in architecture from Southeast Asia? Is there something like this, as it is all of the countries here are using bamboo in architecture?
This is an interesting question. Why? Because, I am not a believer in vernacular architecture at all, but I am definitely, if I look at my work, I cannot deny that critical regionalism is something that would strongly apply to my work. And of course, context and contextual architecture definitely is what we are doing. But we are not doing it because contextual. It's just the right thing to do. The funny thing is all these ideas and ideologies came to me after we started doing what we are doing. It just confirmed to me that somehow, I'm not the only one, and it made more sense once I did. We were just trying to do the right thing. We were just trying to use materials that are better for the people, because of course, for the children, it's more fun also to touch the bamboo and the earth. And it's necessary, in my opinion. That's why we did it, to get more in touch with nature. Why? Because nature's great. If I had a problem as a child, I ran out up the mountains, and that solved my problem. Not discussions or whatever. I think nature is a big help in life. So and nature is lost. As families who come to the school, and when the children take off their shoes and run around, the parents almost faint. They think, this is bare earth is dangerous and dirty and will kill their child and stuff like that. It's amazing, the disconnect that has happened with the postmodernism kind of architectural culture that says, all of this context is unnecessary. I totally disagree. So yes, I think there is a critical regionalism is an important thing that is happening. Regionalism alone, I can't say it, because I wouldn't understand what the purpose of it is, to be honest. But the material is here. It has proven to work, so it is obvious for people to pick it up. And of course, we are lucky to have some really good people in the architecture in Southeast Asia. I mean, you have Woha in Singapore, always been, one of the companies I highly admire. Of course, then you have the famous Japanese architects. So I don't need to mention any names, but we have good people here, and I think it helps, because in some ways, I think most of the good Asian architects are aware and include their context to a higher extent than a lot of architects in the West.
Thank you for sharing your point of view on that. That leads me to another question, which is the impact of what you mentioned, the children coming into the school, like the impact that it has into their education, into their life, into their perception of the spaces. Do you have stories about that?
Yeah, I mean, we see that it works. That makes me so happy. We can see that the children love to come to school, and they don't want to leave in the evening. The parents have to chase them to go home. We have requests for them coming on weekends. And, I have my own children going there. And even for them, it is difficult to go to the school of that their father belongs. They still love it. They still go there. That the teachers love to teach there. The parents love to go there. So I can see it works. Whatever we design and the materials, and it is the materials and the design together that makes it work. But I can only say with most of the buildings that we've built, the smile part, the functionality part, and the sustainable part, they all come together. So it's very lucky in some way that we stumbled upon this, I think. But we couldn't have achieved it better than it is. If you ask children who come to our school and they have to leave, it's a big drama for them. If they have to go back to normal schools, very difficult. And once they're here, they don't want to leave.
Thanks for sharing this. We are reaching the end of our talk. There was one question from the audience that I wanted to bring up, which is the materials that you are using, whether it is bamboo, whether it is earth, whether it is for the school or for the house. Does it have an impact on the speed of the construction? Is it faster to assemble bamboo than other material? Can we say that if we want to build a school in bamboo, it's going to be faster than traditional, or not traditional, but other materials?
This needs a bit more detailed answer. In the end, I say we are about the same in terms of speed, but we are sometimes faster than others. Why? Because simply we plan better. I've seen construction go on and on and on some buildings, and I'm just surprised. How can the subcontractor make money like this? Because usually construction is a fixed amount, and the longer we work, the more expenses I have. So I have a clear incentive of being fast, because that's the only way for me to make money. So we plan it very well. In terms of speed comparison, you have to understand whom do we compare to, because our construction is a mixture of construction art and it is high quality. So if I compare our construction to high quality conventional construction, then we will be probably about the same speed. Low quality conventional construction, of course, can be done much faster. You can whack up a cheap building very fast, but it's also going to come down very fast. But so whom do we compare to? Where are we? In our bracket, we are on the upper level of normal construction in terms of quality, in terms of price, and in terms of time. But there we compare very much the same in terms of quality, price, and time. Quality, I think we're always higher because we give more than just a quality house. We give something that people actually can connect to. So that's not able. But in the end, in terms of price, because that's the other question that usually comes, yeah, we are at the high end of the normal level. And in terms of speed, probably the same.
Okay. And in all of this exploration and the material that you are employing and the shape, these unusual shapes, what has been the biggest challenge that you faced? I visited this fantastic sports hall that is it's quite amazing. The picture that does not give full justice to what it is, because it's so lightweight. The feeling is so lightweight. It is almost just like a leaf that is just going into place. So it's quite amazing. That's why I'm like, what are the biggest challenges that you face, or what are the challenges that you are looking for to go beyond whatever you have been already doing?
I like the second part, because of course we like to go bigger. We like to go to places where nobody went with bamboo. So a skyscraper in the skyline of Bangkok would be probably the next goal in any city actually, and see how far we can get with bamboo, how high we can go, because in the end I think we can go very far. It's just a question of finding the right team, having the right client who is willing to pay for it, and who has a vision, and who also wants to bring architecture into a next level. And that is what we're looking for. So yes, there's always challenges, and in order to change things, size matters, because if you want to be published, if you want to be seen, and if people want to have a wow and ah effect, it's much easier when it's big. So yes, big projects are big challenges. Big projects are big challenges, definitely what we're looking for. The biggest initial challenge, there were different challenges along the path, but the biggest initial challenge, of course, was the image. And the image of earth and bamboo is that these are poor people's materials. And so from the very beginning, I very consciously placed us into the high end of the market in order to produce quality and beautiful things that are unlike what everybody thinks they would be. But to overcome this image of bamboo being a material that doesn't last very long, that is terrible to be with and cheap, and also earth being, dark, moist rooms, no light, because that's how the vernacular architecture in many countries was. That was a big step. When we first said we build a school from bamboo and earth, everybody was laughing, hippie school, hippie school. That was that was a big one in the beginning.
Yes, I can see that. And what is the biggest challenge? Indeed, you are right, is changing the mindset towards bamboo architecture using earth. That most of the time people think that it is poor or in villages, or that is not meant for an urban environment. So and also have this kind. Yeah.
Also purely that it's non-contemporary. That's the big problem. That people think it's because who are our clients? Middle class, high upper middle class, people who live with the current trends. So we had to make sure that our materials fit in there for these customers. And before we started, these materials were not even close to the horizon of these people, right? So it is the contemporary part, and that comes with technology that also that we show, oh, it's applicable with everything you do. We can use these materials, and yeah.
And that once again, I think we will close soon our talk, and I would like to thank you once again for what you are bringing to the discourse of architecture in Southeast Asia and in the global environment as well, in really breaking through with materials. And that's why I think it resonates so much as well with what Cosentino is doing with all of the materials, in constantly innovating to find a new system, and that makes a better world. So I'm once again really honored to have you with us today, and to really to wish you the best in continuing in bringing your creation to the planet, and to contribute to a better living environment, and to really demonstrate that yes, we can use traditional material in a very contemporary setting, in a very futuristic setting, and that definitely makes us fully entering into the 21st century. So once again, Markus, thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Yann. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You have such a gift of actually phrasing my things much more precise and better, and explaining my work. I should use you for my script writing. And a big thanks to Patricia and Cosentino for giving me this platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and we welcome Patricia to close the talk of today. So Patricia, thanks again for having us today.
Yes, thank you, Yann. Thank you, Markus. All the presentation, all the work that you have done. I have to say that I like it even more. At Cosentino, we are committed to the planet, to sustainability, and these talks are really something that inspires us. And I'm sure that so much. Good evening.
Thanks again. Thank you.